In 2018, archaeologists pointed a laser scanner at 2,100 square kilometers of Guatemalan jungle. In 11 days, it found 60,000 ancient structures that had been there for over 1,000 years, invisible to every satellite, every survey, every expedition that came before. That's not the discovery. That's the beginning of the problem. The technology is called LiDAR, light detection and ranging. It fires laser pulses from aircraft at up to 500,000 times per second and maps everything below, even through dense forest canopy. What it has revealed, in jungle after jungle across the last decade, is that our maps of the ancient world are wrong. Not slightly wrong, fundamentally wrong. Cities we didn't know existed, road networks spanning hundreds of kilometers, urban populations that according to the accepted timeline of civilizational development shouldn't have been there. In the next 12 minutes, we're going to look at 5 discoveries that LiDAR has produced in the last 15 years. In each case, the discovery didn't just find a new site, it forced a complete revision of the model. The last discovery on this list comes from 2024. It's the oldest known urban complex ever found in the Amazon, and it rewrites the timeline of South American civilization by roughly 1,000 years. Stay with us. In northern Guatemala, in the region known as the Petén, archaeologists had been excavating Maya ruins for over a century. They knew the Maya had cities, they knew there were trade routes. What they couldn't see through the jungle canopy was the scale. In 2018, the Pacunam LiDAR initiative, led by archaeologist Marcelo Canuto of Tulane University, flew laser scanners over 2,100 square kilometers of the Maya Biosphere Reserve. The results, published in Nature, identified more than 60,000 previously unknown structures. Pyramids, palaces, irrigation canals, and elevated causeways connecting cities across the lowlands. The revised population estimate was between 7 and 11 million people at the height of the classic Maya period. That is 3 to 4 times higher than every previous estimate. To put that in real terms, that is roughly the population of modern London in the jungle of Guatemala over 1,000 years ago. The road network was arguably the more striking finding. More than 240 kilometers of raised causeways, some wide enough for 2 carts to pass side by side. Except that the Maya had no wheels and no draft animals capable of pulling carts. The roads were built anyway. The functional purpose of a road network built for a civilization without wheeled transport has not been satisfactorily answered. 300 kilometers to the north, in modern Belize, lies a site archaeologists had known about since the 1930s, Caracol. A Maya city, significant in the literature but not exceptional. 70 years of excavation had mapped a substantial urban core. In 2010, archaeologists Arlen and Diane Chase from the University of Central Florida became the first research team to deploy LiDAR at a Maya site at scale. What the scan revealed transformed the interpretation of Caracol entirely. The city didn't end at the edge of the excavated zone. It extended for 177 square kilometers, roughly the area of Washington the 600th. Population at its peak, an estimated 115,000 people. There were agricultural terraces carved into slopes that previous surveys had classified as empty forest. There were residential districts extending kilometers beyond the known civic center. The revision wasn't minor. The city that archaeologists had spent 70 years excavating was the downtown core. The rest had been invisible 40 meters below the tree canopy for the entire history of the discipline. As a formal note, this was the first major application of LiDAR to a Maya city. The Chase team's methodology became the standard for every survey that followed. What's worth establishing before we continue? Every site so far is in the Americas. The pattern, cities hidden beneath jungle canopy, turns out not to be regional. The next discovery came from Southeast Asia, and it came from a civilization researchers thought they understood well. In 2013, archaeologist Damien Evans of the École Française d'Extrême-Orient flew a LiDAR survey over Phnom Kulen, a forested plateau in northern Cambodia. The target was a 9th century Khmer city referenced in ancient inscriptions, Mahendraparvata, the first capital of the Khmer Empire before Angkor. Historians knew from the inscriptions that it had existed. Nobody had located it on the ground. The LiDAR found it in a single pass. The city covers approximately 60 square kilometers on the plateau. It has a formal street grid, reservoirs, temples, and a hydraulic infrastructure designed to manage water across an area nearly twice the size of Manhattan. The finding, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, was notable for one specific reason. This was the first ancient city discovered primarily through aerial laser technology rather than ground excavation. Evans described watching the data render in real time as seeing a city emerge from a blank map. Mahendraparvata preceded Angkor by 2 centuries. It provided the missing developmental link, the engineering chain that explains how the Khmer eventually built structures at Angkor's scale. That chain had been a gap in the historical record for the entire modern period of Khmer scholarship. The dominant assumption in Western archaeology for most of the 20th century was that the Amazon rainforest was essentially uninhabitable at civilizational scale. Too dense, too wet, agriculture too difficult to sustain at the level required for large fixed populations. The peoples who lived there, the model held, were small, mobile, and left few permanent traces. In June 2022, a study led by Heiko Prumers of the German Archaeological Institute published findings in Nature that directly contradicted this model. LiDAR surveys of the Llanos de Mochos in the Bolivian Amazon identified a network of urban settlements built by what researchers now call the Casarabe culture, a civilization that flourished between 500 and 1400 CE. The largest settlement identified covers 147 hectares, roughly 200 international football pitches. It contains a ceremonial center with platforms and terraces rising to 22 meters, the height of a 7-story building, surrounded by a canal system and raised roads connecting multiple urban centers across a network extending at least 500 kilometers. Prumers described the settlement density as unlike anything previously documented in the Amazon basin. The Casarabe culture had built a regional civilization in terrain that archaeology had classified as sparsely inhabited for decades. It remained invisible until 2022 because nobody had looked from the air with the right instrument. In January 2024, a study published in the journal Science identified what researchers describe as the oldest known urban complex ever found in the Amazon basin. The location is the Upano Valley, in the Ecuadorian foothills east of the Andes. LiDAR surveys led by archaeologist Stéphane Rostaing of the French National Center for Scientific Research identified at least 15 interconnected urban centers covering approximately 300 square kilometers, connected by a planned road network. Dating analysis places the construction between 2,500 and 1,000 years ago, roughly as old as the height of the Roman Empire. The discovery pushed the known history of Amazonian urbanism back by approximately 1,000 years. The accepted model prior to this finding held that planned urban settlements in the Amazon basin were a late development, emerging no earlier than 1000 CE at the earliest. The Upano data does not support that model. Rostaing told Science that the discovery required a complete rethink of what ancient Amazonian civilizations were capable of. The settlements show evidence of long-term urban planning, road grids, drainage systems, agricultural terracing. This is not a seasonal camp. It is a city, built 800 years before the model said cities here were possible. What connects these 5 sites isn't the technology that found them. It's what their discovery implies about the methodology that preceded it. In every case, the accepted model held that a given region was either uninhabited, sparsely populated, or limited in its level of civilizational organization. In every case, a single aerial survey overturned that model, not refined it, not nuanced it, but overturned it. The Maya weren't a network of isolated city-states. They were an interconnected urban civilization with a population comparable to medieval Europe. The Amazon wasn't a barrier to complex society. It contained one, multiple ones, simultaneously. The question this raises isn't really about any specific site, it's about the baseline. How much of what we accept as the history of the ancient world is based on what we could see, which, until recently, meant what was visible above ground? Most of the world's tropical forests have not yet been systematically surveyed by LiDAR. Most coastal zones have not been mapped by underwater archaeology at scale. The corrections we've seen in the last 15 years, each one described as paradigm shifting at the time, may represent a fraction of what's coming. That's the question that nobody in the field has answered yet. If 5 separate civilizations across 2 continents built sophisticated urban networks that remained completely invisible until a laser scanner was pointed at them from an aircraft, what is still down there? Tell us in the comments which region you think should be next. The Congo Basin, the Mekong Delta, and the Indian subcontinent's forested interiors are the ones researchers are watching. If you have a different answer, make the case. If today's topic fascinated you, we've compiled 50 of the most unexplained ancient discoveries into one guide. Every site, every mystery, the competing theories, and the sources. Link is in the description. And if this video added something to what you knew, subscribe. We publish a new ancient mystery every week.